And it is half-baked masters or spiritual teachers that permeate Western culture. So, how did this happen? How did this most important principle, most important credential of a master get lost in translation from east to west? Well, 50 years ago or so, when a few authentic masters came to the West from the East, they modeled the real deal and empowered thousands in the process. It was a time of great awakening via the experience of empowerment from or in association with authentic masters. My master was one such master. And many people were awakened to the holistic truth as he and other authentic masters taught by their very empowering presence. They also taught with words because the West was uneducated and unevolved in holistic experience. But because the West was mired in the material myth, which is dominantly egocentric, many Westerners saw an egocentric opportunity for their own advancement. They saw the possibility that they could appoint themselves as spiritual teachers and make a lot of money in the process. For remember, money is the god of the material myth, the highest value. Those who are mired in egocentric experience within the material myth have as their god money. So, what did these people do? They learned the teaching. They memorized the words, the holistic philosophy of life that the great masters of the East were teaching. But they took only the words and set aside the embodiment of it, the unified state of being. In other words, they became half-baked masters. And this is easy to understand in the West because part of the material myth from an egocentric perspective is the glorification of the mind. The mind reigns supreme. If you memorize something, if you learn something of the mind, you have authority, you have power within the material myth. So Westerners invest in intellectual enlightenment. if they know it conceptually. They believe they have mastered it. And this is what has been taught in the West ever since. It remains egocentric, and it greatly limits the experience. Why? Because it is mere words, intellectual enlightenment without authentic empowerment. In other words, there's no sun or real suntan. It's the same experience you could have in any school or classroom. The teacher has memorized the teaching and imparts it to you in words. If you memorize the words and the teaching, you graduate and believe that you have mastered the material. It's an intellectual enlightenment, an experience of the mind.